So good morning, everyone. Welcome to all the guests and everyone around the world, basically. My name is Debbie Wetzler, and I am a leader in the company of ASEA. And I learned about this fantastic company 8 years ago, a little over 8 years ago at this point. I will tell you a little bit about myself, and then I will let you discover ASEA the way I discovered it when I first started, as I said, 8 years ago. I had a beautiful family, a son and a daughter, and I had been an entrepreneur my whole life. I had owned several businesses, managed and bought for a ski shop in Colorado, and then I became an interior designer here in Maryland. And everything was going beautifully. I stepped down to help a gentleman with his website, with his children's website, and it was an amazing site. However, in 2008, when the economy got so bad, he went bankrupt, and I was really left with nothing coming in at all. Now, my son had graduated from college, and he was off on his own. However, my daughter still lived with me and was still going to college. And it was a very tense, very stressful time in my life because I didn't want to worry her, and I only had an older mother left, and I didn't want to worry her. So I kept this to myself. And I literally went through all of my savings looking for another job because no one was hiring at the time. Everybody had a freeze on. And I finally found a job as a server in a restaurant, just knowing I needed to do something in order to bring money in. And so I was working double shifts trying to make enough money to put food on the table, keep my daughter in college, and be able to pay for electricity and all the different things that you need to pay for in your life. And so I was going through and making enough money, working all the time, until I started getting behind on my mortgage. And then it started escalating from there. I was getting further and further behind on my mortgage, and they finally sent me a letter of foreclosure. They were going to take my home away because there was nothing they could do. They had tried to help me in every way, and they just kept saying I did not make enough money. And that was the day that that was a turnaround point in my life. That was a watershed moment, I guess I should say. I went upstairs, I put a big plea out to the universe, just asking and saying, I know I can do this. Please send me something that I can help people with, but that will help turn me around financially. And the very next morning, before I ever even got out of bed, my girlfriend from Colorado called and said, there's been a huge breakthrough. This has saved 3 of my best friends' lives. You might want to check it out. And she had actually no idea what kind of a situation I was in. But I just looked up and said, thank you, and went down and watched a video. And it was the first time I had ever heard of redox molecules, as is the case for most people at this point. So I learned that there had been a breakthrough and that redox molecules were involved, and I learned where they were made and what they did for the body. And I just sat back and thought, if this is true, this has got to be huge. So that's when I called a girlfriend of mine. And she happened to be a molecular biologist who had graduated from Johns Hopkins. And she worked at the National Institutes of Health. And I'm trying to mute somebody who's making a little bit of noise, so just a second. So I drove over to her house with the information, and I put the information down in front of her, and she looked at me like she'd seen a ghost, basically. She just looked at me and she said, Debbie, I have been studying these molecules for 17 years. We've had scientists from around the world come here and try to do this. Are you telling me that somebody was finally able to stabilize these molecules outside the human body in a bioactive form? And I looked at her and I said, well, yes. And she said, you have no idea how massive this is. This will change, in her words, the medical field as you know it. And I got the chills, and she just went on to start explaining to me. She actually pulled a book down off of her shelf. She opened it up and she started explaining redox molecules and what they did. And she virtually said that they regulated virtually every major system in the body. These are the molecules that allow your cells to signal and communicate with each other, and that's why your heart can beat without you even thinking about it, and you breathe without thinking about it. But they regulate every single system. And of course, without them, you would die. So she also told me that they cross the blood-brain barrier, which they were supposed to. They're very tiny molecules, 4 atoms big or smaller. And she said, not only will you have amazing results in the body, but you're also going to have amazing results with all the mental issues that people are having these days, because these are these molecules, as I said, that detect damaged cells and report that very clearly to the immune system, and the immune system comes in and either repairs or replaces the damaged cell. And I was stunned and just kind of looked and said, this is huge. And she said, you have no idea how big this is. Now, she looked it up and found that it was completely non-toxic and got on it that night. And she's been on it for as long as I have. And then she drove over to tell both of my children to get on this, because she told them, these are the molecules that keep your cells healthy for a long period of time, like they're supposed to be. But we have so many stress and toxins out these days that cells get damaged much earlier than they did back in our grandfather's time. And she said, this will prevent things from happening that you'll never know that you would have had. So both of my children now have been on it for 8 years also. So redox molecules, as I said, protect your cells. Your skin cells are your protective layer on the outside, but they protect every cell on the inside of your body also. But because of the stress and toxins that are out there, cells do get damaged still. So then they are meant to detect the damaged cells and report that very clearly to the immune system. So you have 2 healthy cells here, as David always does. When one cell gets damaged, the immune system will come in and either repair the damaged cell, if it's not too badly damaged, or if it is too badly damaged, this is the case of cancers or serious injuries or something, the body is meant to kill that cell off, and the body takes it away, and then another healthy cell will reproduce a healthy cell. And in that way, all your cells are healthy. So it will repair it if it's not too badly damaged, or replace it if it is too badly damaged. And in this way, these redox signaling molecules allow all your cells to communicate, and that's what keeps the cells in the body healthy, so that we are all healthy. The problem, as she told me that night, is that as we get older, we start losing these cells. And that's why a 70-year-old doesn't heal nearly as quickly as a 5-year-old did. So we start losing them at a percentage rate of about 1% every year we're alive, past the age of puberty. Now, doctors don't know what happens at puberty, but we start losing them, and the signals become weaker. So it's like you have a fire in your house, and you're trying to call the fire department with a cell phone with 1 bar. And the fire department cannot hear the address that you're trying to tell them to come help you and put the fire out. And so your house burns down because the fire department can't hear. That's what these redox molecules do in your body as you get older. And so for the first time in the history of mankind, we are able to reintroduce the identical redox molecules that your body makes into the body. Your immune system now can hear the signals because these are healthy new cells. And your body starts healing itself much faster than it did before you had these new redox molecules. And so your body just starts acting younger again, just like when we were 5. And if you remember when you're 5, you could run around all day and do all kinds of exercise, and you normally did, and you woke up and you never had sore muscles or an aching back because your body was continually healing itself very quickly. A 70-year-old does not do that. She told me what a huge area of science this was, and she went over the fact that since the 1990s, when they first discovered this and first had the instruments sophisticated enough to even be able to see these molecules, that there have been several Nobel Prizes awarded for redox biochemistry. Now there's lots of articles and journals and things published every single month about redox biochemistry. Textbooks have been written. And she also told me about PubMed.gov, which is our International Public Library of Health. And when she went to look it up, there were several thousand redox studies involving redox molecules. Now, these studies are done by doctors, and they're peer-reviewed by other doctors, and then they're allowed to publish them at PubMed.gov. And doctors around the world use this. But the last time I went and put in signaling molecules, there were over 70,000 peer-reviewed studies involving signaling molecules. And so this is, as I said, a huge area of science. Doctors are starting to know about it, mostly because in 2013, Dr. James Watson, a very famous scientist of Watson and Crick, who discovered the double helix of DNA, published an article in the Lancet Medical Journal stating that type 2 diabetes, cancer, and brain disorders were the lack of redox signaling molecules, and said that we've probably been diagnosing things the wrong way for a while. He started working with these. He found them to be extraordinary. So that's when doctors kind of started noticing it, because he's pretty famous, and when he publishes something, a lot of doctors will know about it and learn about it. But most of us don't pay attention to science. So most of us didn't realize what was happening. And science was keeping up with technology. We just don't pay attention to it. So at the time, there was only a bottle of liquid redox molecules called ASEA. That's what this molecular biologist, like I said, she looked it up. She found it was completely 100% safe, non-toxic, cannot hurt anyone. No one can be allergic to it because it's identical to what we make in our bodies. And we've basically given it to newborns and 107-year-olds and animals and plants. Every living thing has redox molecules. And this can help replenish them so that the body, the living cells of the body or the animal or the plant can help heal itself very quickly. Now there's a gel form of it. And it took them 4 years to make something, to find something that was benign enough, not reactive with the molecules, so that they found this very benign clay, and they put the redox molecules inside these little bubbles of clay. You put that on, and it was brought out to be a skincare system. They have discovered that your cells regenerate 16% faster by applying this RENU 28. So it takes you back to when you're not young. When you're young, your skin cells renew every 28 days. As you get older, that goes to 30, 40, 50. By my age, it gets to be probably over 100 days. But you're bringing your skin back to when you were younger again. So they did studies with this, proving that it decreased your wrinkles, added elasticity and hydration, and your skin and you just looked much younger. However, because they were redox molecules, and Australia taught us this, they didn't have the liquid for 2 years in their country. They just used the RENU 28. So they discovered that by rubbing this on 3 times in 5 minutes, on any discomfort or anything that hurts in your body, joints, muscles, anything, that if you rub it on 3 times in 5 minutes, it usually disappears completely within a few minutes or greatly lessens. And so that's a very quick way that we show that redox molecules work, and they work very quickly. They do their work in nanoseconds. Once they've done their work, they turn right back into the saline solutions that's in your body, salt and water. Your body constantly has enough building materials to make redox molecules. It just starts losing the mitochondria that does make these redox molecules. Because we were rubbing this on our face and then we were adding other things, our own moisturizer or using our own cleanser, or some people were just using soap, they realized that RENU 28 was doing double duty, trying to get you to look younger. So they decided to put research into creating a whole skincare system. So they've come out with a cleanser, a serum, which is very concentrated redox molecules, more concentrated than the RENU 28, and a moisturizer, all with nothing bad, no chemicals, no anything bad in it for you at all. So that when you cleanse yourself with the cleanser, it's a very effective, safe, gentle cleanser. It's a foam. And then you rub the RENU 28 all over your face. And then you can take the serum and put it just in targeted areas, such as the wrinkles around your eyes, or maybe wrinkles around the upper part of your lip or your throat or someplace. And then you put the moisturizer on when that's dry. Your skin can look years younger just in a couple of days. And we have before and after pictures. One famous one is Sylvie. She's a woman in our organization, a wonderful woman. She's originally from France, but she lives in California at this point. She took her before and after picture 2 days after using this product, and you could see the difference in her skin. It was amazing. So pictures are worth 1,000 words. And these are some of the people that took their before shot, before started using RENU 28, and then their after shot 28 days later. Sometimes it wasn't even 28 days. So this was one of the first women that were able to use the RENU 28. Her name is Redox, and you can see the difference in her neck, and it was an extraordinary difference. And we looked at that and went, oh my gosh, how do we get this stuff? It was quite pronounced. This man is a research veterinarian, Dr. Marty Morin, and he wanted to use the same palette so he would have exacting results. So for 28 days, he just put it on one side of his face. Only a man would do that. I always say that. And you can definitely see the difference in the depth of his wrinkles on both sides, around his eyes and around his lips and mouth and nose. And this gentleman had a very severe crack in his heel, the type that hurts very badly. In just 1 week, that crack had disappeared and healed itself. And this lady, around her eyes and around her lips again, you can see the difference in 28 days. Some people have had scars and accidents and burns and different things that would have left them scarred for life, probably. But you can see just after a couple of months of using the RENU 28, this woman's face completely regenerated, and she was left with no scars. This gentleman had a skin tag on his eye. Again, those are damaged cells. It's not meant to be there. So they got the communication not to reproduce themselves, and it disappeared and went away. And this lady has the type of a rash that affects many people in the world. And in just 3 weeks after using the RENU 28, it started disappearing. And this is one of my favorite pictures. This is Rosie. She was using the product and feeling a major difference in the way she felt. But she went up to her son and said, I just don't see a difference in the way I look. I thought this was going to make me look younger. And I can imagine the son kind of looking at her going, are you kidding, Mom? He had luckily taken a before picture, so he took the after picture and he showed them both to her. And she looked and said, yeah, I guess I believe I'll still stay on this product. So David, would you like to go over the company?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Can I share my screen?
You can share your screen, sure.
Okay.
I have the same facts, they're just on 2 different slides.
All right, well, I'll just pop my slide up. All right,
okay.
So
I'll stop sharing.
All right, thanks, Deb.
Sure.
And thanks for sharing. I'm looking forward to doing this again at 1 o'clock here. Let's see. Here we are. Okay. Go down right here. Okay. So here's some facts about this company. It's actually 9 years old now. That's the world headquarters in Pleasant Grove, Utah. It's run, people that have met the people that run this company know that this is very true. In addition to being highly experienced and very conservative and careful, the integrity of these people is remarkable because, as Debbie mentioned, they did not sell it to the pharmaceutical company, and they could have just walked away with an 8-figure buyout, and they didn't do that. They launched the company at the height of the biggest recession since the Great Depression, and in 2009. So I don't know, too many people were launching companies at that point. People were just trying to stay alive. But they were profitable in the first 7 months of business. They have 0 long-term debt at all. This is the production facility where the Redox technology is made, not the nutritional products. It is a FDA registered facility. The FDA comes in and inspects it. I'm going to show you the inside of it in a minute. And I will tell you that in January, there's going to be an event in Salt Lake City, and they're going to be giving tours of this FDA registered facility. And the pictures you're going to see at the bottom, you walk through and you can see it happen. So this is the inside, and it takes about 3.5 days for them to convert the saline, the salt, and the water into reductants and oxidants. Stabilized reductants and oxidants. And so the left picture is the saline tanks, and you can notice the blue floor there. I'll come back to that in a minute. There's the electrolysis machines that it goes through that rips apart the salt and water molecules and recombines them to create the reductants and oxidants, the redox signaling molecules that, as Debbie said, are identical that's in us. So, you know, it's an amazing thing that you can't be allergic to this product. There's no toxicity, and it doesn't interfere with any other treatment that someone's doing. There's the bottling, packaging, finished product. There are 18 global distribution centers at this point. They just opened 5 in Asia. So the ones in Asia and the countries that this is available in Asia right now is Hong Kong, Singapore, Thailand, Taiwan, and the Philippines. But it's also available in 21 countries in Europe, all over Scandinavia. It's in the US, Canada, Mexico, and now just getting into Colombia, South America, and Dominican Republic. In fact, the president's going to be down there at the company in the next, actually, last night was the first meeting, I think, in Dominican Republic, and tomorrow night is in, it's in Colombia. I can't remember which city. It's in Cali, I think. They've done over $500 million in sales since the beginning of the company. And people say, oh, this is salt water. And they don't look at the double-blind studies. They don't try the gel for things that hurt, because for pain, people just try this. It's interesting what happens. 9 out of 10 people that take this gel and they just put it on wherever they're hurting 3 times in 5 minutes. It's pretty amazing what happens to 9 out of 10 of them within 10 minutes. But in addition to people that are skeptical and say it's salt water, and look online and use Google as a search engine, or use it as a research engine where it's really just a search engine, and not really understanding, most people don't understand that people can post whatever they want up there, and they can ridicule or bash anything that's in competition with what they're doing. Let me ask you this. If it was salt water, and over 90% of the sales so far have come from the drink, do you think any intelligent person would say, how can a company sell $500 million worth of one product for 9 years now, and it be salt water? Could you fool that many people for that long? No. So they've done $500 million in sales. Last year they did 84 million. And there's been some steady growth. The year before it was in the upper 70s. The year before it was lower 70s. But this year they are they're on pace to do 130 million this year. So we're hitting this curve. That production facility can produce $800 million a year. So they're ready for the explosion. They will not be underproducing product. They will be able to meet demand. But that blue floor I mentioned is blank space. It's empty space. They built it so that they knew this day would come. Well, it'll be here within a couple of years, because it's projected the company's going to do $1 billion within 3 to 4 years. They can double the output because they can put a second production line in and go to 1.6 billion. So for the opportunistic people, we're past the risk stage. 90% of network marketing companies are out of business by their 5th year. We're entering our 10th year. I have to change that slide. It's 9 years old now, but we're entering our 10th year, and we're just growing. So we're past the risk and we're entering momentum. And they pay us residual income, and that means money that just comes with, this is the beautiful part. Most people have jobs. I did as a physician. I own my own practice, but if I wasn't in the office or the hospital, I was making no money. I had overhead. I had to pay my staff, everything else. I was losing money if I wasn't working. With this, I don't lose money if I'm not working. In fact, I make money when I'm not working. I make money when I'm working. I make money when I'm sleeping, because it's residual income. If you find out that this is real, and you will now or later, and you tell a few people, the company will pay you for bringing this to these people every time they order their product. In September of 2018, in September of 2019, in September of 2025, the company pays you for all those people that you introduced this to. That's residual income. You taught them about it in September of 18, and they keep paying you. Well, those people can tell people just like you did. The company's going to pay you for that too. And those people can tell people. They'll pay you for that too. Very powerful. And they pay us to do 2 things. we educate people. And what do we do for the company? We acquire customers for them, and along the way, we find people like me, like Debbie, probably like you, maybe not, that want a better life. People that want more out of life, free time, the income, whatever it is. So we identify, train, and support entrepreneurs who want a better life. So Debbie, that's a little bit about the company, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen one more time. I'll go through this very quickly because he was talking about it. Some people, well, see if it will work now. Some people ask why it came to us through a network marketing company. And I'm just going to briefly talk to you a little bit about that. The story is with Vertus Norton, basically, and Tyler Norton, his son. There was a company that was playing with salt and water before this was ever ASEA. And they were creating these little redox molecules, only they didn't know it. They didn't know what they were creating, but the lab technicians were drinking the product and their health issues were disappearing and going away. So they decided to spend as much money as they could to figure out what this was and took this down 3 indications, going the FDA route and all that kind of stuff here in the United States. And they found that this turned around basically 3 major indications that affect the world. But they still didn't know what it was, and it wasn't stable. So they would make this product, and it would turn right back into salt water within 5 minutes. So of course, if they were giving it to anyone, if it turned into salt water, it wouldn't do anybody any good. So they had spent millions of dollars doing this, and they found out about Vertus Norton through his son Tyler, and they knew he had been vice president of strategy of Kraft Foods, and that he knew how to run a company, and he knew how to get finances coming in and turn companies around. And so they invited him to sit on the board of the company, and he took a look, and he tried to help them for 3 months, and he realized they had just already gone too deep into the hole, and they were too much in debt at that point, and he couldn't help them fast enough. So he told them that and stepped back off. In the meantime, he had gotten to drink the molecules while he was there. And he started feeling like he was in his 30s again, and he knew they had something also. So when they started selling off assets, he went in with a group of investors, and he was able to buy the formula. And then through his daughter, he was able to meet an atomic medical physicist who did a year's worth of research to discover that these were indeed redox molecules, identical to what is made in the body. I'm sure he was extraordinarily surprised that he found that. And then he and his team of scientists were able to stabilize these molecules outside and put them in a bottle. So now you've got positive and negative in this bottle, which they thought was virtually impossible, that were stable until you drink it. And when you drink it, it goes right into the tissues, and the tissues take it everywhere, and the body instantly recognizes it and is telling these molecules where to go and what to do. So now Vertus is 70 years old. The last thing he wanted to do was start a company at 70. Most of us wouldn't want to start a company at 70. So his plan was to do this as a business and as a business deal and sell it to a pharmaceutical company. Before he did that, however, he got this on a focus group of 40 people. 6 people were only given a couple months left to live. And so he gave them the product free. It just told them to drink as much as they wanted. There was a perceived health benefit. And in 2.5 months, when he went to check, all 40 of them had turned around so completely that they had then shipped it to 135 other people in 20 countries. And he knew he had what he needed. And that's when the pharmaceutical company came in, and they got to see all the testing, all the scientific studies, all the peer-reviewed studies, everything that they had. And they wanted it badly. And they said, we're prepared to give you a check so large that you don't go anywhere else. And I'm sure Vertus was very happy for a moment until they said, but if you take this check, you and all those people come off the product. And it was at that moment that Vertus realized that if he took that check, probably no one in the world would ever hear about this. He realized that it's in a pharmaceutical company's best interest to sell drugs. If people are healthy, are they going to take drugs? Probably not. He also couldn't look, but mostly he couldn't look those 6 people, especially in the eye, and tell them they couldn't have this product anymore. He just couldn't do it. He's a man of great integrity. And so he turned down that check, and he decided to start this company. He realized that he could leave the world a legacy if he could get this out to the world. And the man is so intelligent, he's read virtually every book in his library. And he has a huge library. So he did a bunch of due diligence to find that relationship marketing was going to be the best way to get this out to the world. It needed an explanation. You couldn't just put this in the shelves of Costco and have people look and see salt water. Why am I paying $40 for it? So that's how ASEA began. And as David just told you, it spread around the world at this point. But that's why we didn't go the pharmaceutical route, and that's why it's coming to you through relationship marketing. I've had a great experience with this, and my mother did also, and so I tell the world about what this has done for me and my family. We have a lot of scientific studies, but most people aren't interested in that. They just want to know, is this safe and will it work for me? The Huffington Post put out an article several years ago stating that there were 5 emerging technologies in science that will shape our lives in the coming years. We were number 4 on that list. We were also the only technology on this list that had a product behind it. And so they actually mentioned ASEA in this article. And we were very proud to have our names listed. And we know we're going to be affecting the world, and we already are affecting the world. These are all the different institutions that have done research with our product. Pacific Labs did all of our safety studies. NC State talked about how how you go into fatty acid metabolism within 30 minutes of taking this. That's like being a little kid again and running around with tons of energy and having your body burn the fatty acids in your body instead of the glycogen in your brain and muscles. Stevens and Associates did these studies on regenerating cells faster and blood flow. Bioagilitics virtually tests every single batch of our product to make sure that they are redox molecules, and then stamps the back of the bottle. They're a company run by PhDs in the North Carolina Triangle. They test 8 out of the top 10 biotech and pharmaceutical companies for the ingredients they say are in products. And Dermatest Labs are who gave all of our skincare products 5 stars and had 90% of the women come back and want to buy the product. They'd never had that happen before. And then Tarot Labs tested our product for genetic pathway studies. And I'm just going to briefly touch that one. They wanted to see if taking ASEA would return on the genes in your body. And genes are what tell your cells what to do. And our genes shut down over time with toxins and stress. So they found that ASEA lit up a lot of our genes, but it lit up 5 of them by 20 to 31%, which is huge if you're testing for in the medical world. And just one of the genes that it studied touched all these different pathways, 15 more different pathways. Things like spinal cord injury and sudden infant death and insulin signaling and thyroid stimulation and ovarian infertility genes and serotonin, the thing that keeps you happy. And you are happy on this. And circadian rhythm. And every time we ask in any kind of large gathering that we're in, we find that people sleep so much better on this product. So at that convention is when we rebranded our look and our bottle. We now can say that it's ASEA Redox cell signaling supplement. And on the back of the bottle, it states the study that and the genes that this lit up. And so the 5 genes that it does lit up are immune system, inflammatory response, cardiovascular health and arterial elasticity, gut health and digestive enzyme production, and it modulates hormone balance. Now, most people understand what those things do. So now people understand a little bit more about what redox molecules can do for your body when you take it in. And we now have products, and I don't have all of them up. We have Source, Life, and Biome. We've already gotten so many testimonials from what these products do. They are whole foods. They've got micronutrients in it. We source from all different wonderful whole food and areas in the world. And just taking the Source gives you this much nutrition that most people would never get in a day, and especially organic and very safe. Healthy oils, grass juices, most people don't drink those. So just by taking that, and that would cost over $500 if you did that every single day for a month. Source in the United States runs $55. If you order it with the other two, it comes down to $45. It is so well priced for what it gives you. And like I said, these are the first nutritionals that I've ever felt a difference on in a couple of days. And I'm hearing that from virtually everybody I've talked to. So David Silverman was brilliant when he was, people would ask, well, why do I need to know all this information? And he talked about 6 reasons. I just added a 7th one because some people want to have more purpose in life. And as we get older, I think we do want to have more purpose in life and be able to give back to the world in some way. But you're going to look at this if you have a health issue or someone you love has a health issue, or you want to look younger because not too many people want to look older. You want to not have health issues in the future. You might want better athletic performance, even if you're not a professional athlete. You might want to have more endurance during the day and be able to keep going. As I mentioned, more purpose in life. And many of us, if we had an additional stream of income, wouldn't have the stress. I know I was one of them. And I know that this was allowed me to save my house and to continue to put my daughter through college, and then to eventually pay for my son's wedding in another couple of years, which I never thought I'd be able to do with what was happening. So we do this by just making referrals. I tell somebody about it, and then they tell somebody about it. And if they decide to try our product and buy a case, then it becomes residual income. So you do the test once, and then it just keeps coming back to you. I'm sorry, I've got somebody on my deck blowing it. So this is kind of what it looks like. I told a few people, and they started telling a few people, and it went all over the world. And I'm very happy to say, because some of you are on this webinar, I didn't have any personal friends in Europe or Asia. And now I've got beautiful teams there and friends that I never thought I would ever make. And it just has brought such joy and more purpose to my life. So by getting started, you can have an American distribution channel, an Asian one, a European one, an Australian one, and a New Zealand one, wherever you'd like to go. You may not know people, but some of the people you introduce this to will, and eventually your organization will grow. And the lifestyle rewards are amazing. David and I are just about to go to Ireland in October, and they do treat you like royalty. We have lots and lots and lots of fun, and as both of my parents have now passed on, ASEA has become my family. This is where I go if I need to talk to somebody, my friends in ASEA. And I run all kinds of problems by them. And we make lots of memories. Just last year, I was able to go on a cruise with my family. I didn't work at all that week. I just made lots of memories. And my check came in the mail, well, through my smart wallet that same week. And of course, they took
you made lots of memories, and you made lots of money while you were making lots of memories.
I did. It's a beautiful thing once you get your organization up and rolling, because you've blessed so many lives by telling them about this. So the decision is up to you, and I can tell you the decision you make will affect people one way or another. We were told a story last Friday at a leadership dinner, and it really struck both me and Pearl when I was sitting with her. We were told that a lady had cancer, and it was spreading throughout her body. And for some reason, the doctor told her that if they cut off her right arm, and she was right-handed, that he thought he could arrest the cancer. For one thing, that didn't even make any sense to me, but she allowed that to happen. And a year later, she finds out about ASEA. And she said, if I had just known about ASEA a year ago, maybe I would have still had my arm. Those are the decisions that we make. And that's why I'm out to tell everybody I can about this. If this would save somebody's arm or somebody's life or somebody's child's life or somebody's grandmother, I want them to know about this, because if we don't tell people, they don't find out about it, and maybe they found out about it too late. So I've made this my purpose in life, and this has given me much more purpose. And our mission is to better people's lives and be a force for good in the world. And with people's help, and maybe your help, we will be able to do that. So that's the end of the webinar. I will start sharing, and David and I would be happy to answer questions if people have them at this point. And thank you for listening and being curious, as we say.
You want to stop the recording, Deb?
And I will stop the recording.